Hello, welcome to Michelle Sews again. I'm Michelle. Today is Friday, so you know what that means. It is hashtag Friday Sews. So thank you to Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for starting this hashtag and creating this community. I think it's just a lot of fun. If you haven't already, then you should go to the search bar in YouTube and just search hashtag Friday Sews and kind of filter on like the newest ones, and you're going to see a whole plethora of sewists that are participating in this hashtag, and it's so much fun getting to know people. So I highly encourage you to go check it out. Anyway, so what I'm going to do today is tell you a little bit about what I've worked on this week, what I plan to work on over the weekend or into the coming week, and then a little bit about life. So I always say this, I don't think this will be a very long video, but then they always end up being like 25, 30 minutes. So we'll see. All right. So what have I been making this week? So I've told you guys already that I have, I got accepted to be a pattern tester for this is my first time, so I'm really excited about it. I finished my garment this week, and I have to say I learned a lot. Like, it was a very involved garment, much more so than what I normally sew. And so I really was excited about it because it allowed me to push into some techniques that I haven't done before. And I'm really pleased with how it came out. Let's see. And the more exciting part is that, okay, so I had you guys vote on fabric for it, and then I'm not going to use that fabric. I bought the fabric, but I'll use it for something else because it was so involved, and I kind of had a feeling it was going to be involved. I knew there were going to be fit issues just because of the type of garment that it is. So I actually bought actual muslin fabric from Amazon, and I believe I mentioned that last week, and I used the muslin to make the garment. And my goal wasn't just to make it for fit. I wanted to make sure I understood how to make do all the techniques that were involved in the pattern. So it was my intention from the start to sew this thing up in the muslin exactly according to the directions. I cut out every piece, I didn't skimp, I hemmed everything, I finished the edges, I did the whole shebang. And so as I was doing that, and actually probably even before I got started, I was like, this is going to be pretty involved. I'm probably not going to want to make a second one right away. So rather than making that as the muslin and then making the fit adjustments, and then making it in the fabric that everybody voted on, I decided that I was going to tie-dye the muslin. So as I've mentioned a couple of times already, I'm like super into the tie-dye techniques. I've been binge watching tie-dye videos on YouTube, and not just like your typical scrunch it up and throw some dye on it tie-dye. I'm looking at like these really like intricate designs, and I got into it, or I started binge watching it because I was inspired by Jerry and Stitches, who is on both Instagram and YouTube. And she does some she does some fantastic dyeing in her garments. And so I watched the one where she did a shibori kind of a fold, and it just kind of clicked to me that it's all about the fold. And so that's when I started binge watching different, it's not even the dyeing techniques as much as it is the folding techniques and the designs you get out of the different folds. That's been fascinating me. So I saw this one video on I can't remember what it was called. I want to say like peacock something. And so that one really fascinated me, and I decided I was going to try that technique on my garment. So I did. And I have to say, my dye experience did not go according to plan in any way, shape, or form. My goal was to do an ice dye technique. I thought that I had bought all of the tools that I needed. Well, what ended up happening was when I was ready to put the garment on the rack and start putting the ice on it, I realized I was missing something to encapsulate the garment. So you can't just lay the garment on the rack and throw ice on top of it because it won't stay. The ice won't stay put. So you need to have some kind of guardrails to put up against the garment, whether it's a t-shirt or, you know, whatever it is that you're dyeing, so that the ice doesn't like run off and go its own merry way. Well, I didn't have the guardrails. So I tried to rig it up. I had some extra tie-dye bottles because I wasn't gonna need those because I was ice dyeing. And in ice dyeing, all you do is you sprinkle the dye powder on the garment and then put ice on top. So I didn't need the bottles because I wasn't liquefying the dye, if that makes sense. So I was like, well, maybe I can use the bottles, these empty bottles, as my guideposts or my guard posts, and then stick like dinner knives on either side inside the rack to hold the bottles in place. It didn't work. The ice was sliding all over the place. I didn't have gloves on because I thought all I was doing was sprinkling powder on the garment. I didn't think I was gonna need gloves. So luckily, my hand is no longer hot pink. I posted on Instagram, it was Monday, that I was dyeing it because it was ready on Wednesday. So Monday night is when I did all this and my hand was hot pink. I still have some hot pink in my fingernails, not counting the outgrown nail polish, but on my cuticles, I still have some hot pink, but it's going away. Anyway, so that was a mess. So I ended up switching gears, and I had already put the powder on the garment of the peacock part. And I was like, okay, well, without the ice, there's nothing to make the dye absorb into the garment. So I was like, okay, let me switch gears. I used my bottles and I liquefied the dye colors that I had used. So I did a bottle full of the dye with water and powder in the right mixture, and I squirted it on instead of doing ice dye. And then I did a batch of hot pink to do on the rest of the garment, because I did my technique on just the side, and then the rest of the garment was still muslin. So I was like, well, I need to do something with that. So that I just bunched up, and I did hot pink and I did red, and I mixed those two. And so I have a lot of hot pink, a lot of red, and those two, I like the way that they mix together. I do have one issue that I probably won't talk about until I reveal the garment. And then there's white splotches where, actually that's interesting now that I think about it, because the muslin was kind of a yellowish fabric, but my clear spots where there's no dye are definitely white. I didn't think about that till just now. That's interesting. Okay, but I kind of did, I'll show you a little bit of, without showing the whole garment, how freaking amazing did that turn out. So this is obviously my peacock attempt, my peacock feather attempt. And I used like a turquoise and a teal and a blue and then a hot pink in the middle. And then I used that same hot pink throughout the rest of the garment with some splotches of red. So yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out. And I'll talk more about the garment in a reveal video. I'm not sure when I'll be able to do that. I imagine it's soon, because the deadline for giving her pictures and feedback is today. So I imagine that means that she'll be doing her pattern reveal pretty soon. And as a side note, I'm part of round 2 of testing. So she's already she's probably just looking for that extra tidbit to kind of even things out. So anyway, that was my tie-dye experience, and I have to say, even though it went awry, I love the results and I'm totally hooked. And I did go ahead and buy the few tools that I was missing, because now I'm gonna tie-dye everything. All right, So let's see what's next. I had another sewing Zoom call Tuesday night. They're starting to become a regular call, which I love. There were only 2 of us on the call Tuesday. Now I was a little late because I actually had to go into the office this week. So I got home late, I had dinner late. And then by the time I joined, it was just one person. So it was just the 2 of us. So we got to have some one-on-one conversation, which was really nice. And it was cool because I got to ask her, you know, some advice on some things. And then she was telling me about the Ankara Appreciation Week. And I had heard of it, but I wasn't necessarily planning on participating. And I saw her fabrics, and I mean, you know how much I love color, and you know how much I love bold print. It's almost like it was like meant to be. So I went on the House of Mami Wadi, I hope I have that right, website. And I did this just yesterday. And I ordered some fabric that is so gorgeous. I know exactly what pattern I'm gonna make. And I was all inspired by Madi from fridaysews. So I'm gonna participate in Ankara Appreciation Week, which is next week. And the pattern that I wanna make, it's really simple, but it's gonna showcase the fabric beautifully, and I can't wait. It's yeah, I'll talk more about that when I get to it. All right, so the other thing that we talked about in our call was the I'm participating also in the hashtag So Recreate the Look that is hosted. I'm not gonna be able to say the names right, so I'm gonna put them at the bottom. And I'm participating in that. And so I have some fabrics that I was planning to make something different with. So, but they go perfectly for my inspiration dress, which I'll put up here. I've already posted it on Instagram. The problem is that I won't be able to do it. I bought 2 yards of one color and 1 yard each of the other 2 colors. And it's because I was planning on making the I Am pattern Sherazade dress. So I was gonna do the 1 yard, the 2 different colors, 1 yard each in the upper bust area. And then I was gonna do the 2 yards for the skirt. Well, because the way the inspiration look is, I thought I was gonna have to do the 2 yards at the top and then use the 1 yard each for the tiers. That didn't work out because Spoonflower gyps you. So I love my fabric, but because Spoonflower prints it, they have these big, huge like edges on both selvages that are just like solid white. So you get gypped. I mean, if you add those 2 together, that's a significant amount of fabric, especially when you're playing fabric chicken. So I didn't end up, I'm going to be changing the layout. So it's not gonna be an exact, well, it wasn't gonna be an exact replica anyway, because my fabric is different, but even I don't know how to explain it. Hold on one second. All right, I dropped some fabric. Okay, so my inspiration photo has the bodice and the sleeves are all the same fabric. And then there's a tier of a different color. And then the 3rd tier is a different color. I'm not gonna be able to do mine that way. Now I'll be revealing it on Instagram next week, but I've decided to go with the Hope dress for mine. And I'm going to just draft my own skirt piece because I'm doing tiers instead of the solid just skirt. And I also lengthened the bodice. But because the bodice and the sleeves take up so much fabric and Spoonflower has these white edges on the selvage, I couldn't do it all in the same color. So what I've decided to do, that was a really long way to tell you this story. I'm gonna do the bodice Well, here's my 3 fabrics. I've already shown you these. They were in one of my recent Spoonflower hauls. These are actually all the same print. They're just on different backgrounds. So I've got the yellow, the turquoise, which is my favorite, and the white. And actually I was just now noticing the scale on the flowers and the white is a little bit bigger than the scale of the flowers on the turquoise and the pink. But that's okay. I'm all right with that. Anyway, so what I'm gonna end up doing is the bodice of the dress will be in the white. The sleeves and the bottom tier of the dress will be in the turquoise. And then that first tier will be in the yellow. I'm super excited about it. And that's gonna be finished before the weekend is over. Okay, let's see. I think that's about it sewing wise. So I'll talk more about the Ankara in a separate video. I'll talk more about that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then that's it for sewing. So then my other thing is I've been updating you guys on knitting. Well, I told you last week, I've kind of gotten bored with my sweaters. So I've kind of got that on hold right now. I am actually deciding whether or not I want to rip it out or not. I think it's going to be heavier than a summer weight sweater. So as pretty as those 2 colors are together, I don't think it's a sweater. I don't know. I got to think about it. Anyway, so what I mentioned last week was that I also had this shawl that I had been working on a couple of years ago, and it didn't go the way that it was supposed to go, and I wasn't thrilled with it. So I spent a couple of hours unraveling all the yarn, which is all so gorgeous. I love every one of these yarns, and I started over. I'm not very far, but yeah, okay, so I'll just show you the yarns that I'm using. This is and I'll have to find the names of them because I don't remember, it's been a while, but this beautiful vibrant purple, you can see it's not like solid, it's kind of got slight variations in the color, super pretty. And then I've got this multicolor one. Oh my gosh, I love these all so much. And then I think that's the same. And then this bright lime appley green. So the 3 of these together are gonna make the most fabulous shawl. I can't even stand it. Let's see, are these my yarn color? Oh, look at that. I actually saved my cards from my yarn. Okay, so the purple one is a Madeline Tosh. It's a Madeline Tosh Merino Light, and the color is called Flash Dance. The multicolor is from Acid Veil Dye Works. It's a Mallow Puff Sock yarn, a superwash merino, and the color is called Novocaine for the Soul. I would agree with that. And then the green is from Cascade Yarns, and it is a fingering weight yarn. It's 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and the color is just 9623. It doesn't have a name. So those are my 3 yarns that I'm using. Yeah, those are my 3 yarns that I'm using from my shawl. And this is how far I've gotten. So it's slow going, but you can see like I put a little bit more effort. I did learn that I was doing my yarn overs wrong. So I've learned how to do those properly, and these holes do look more, these eyelets look more purposeful than what they had looked in my first version. So far so good. And I haven't worked on it at all this week, but well, yeah, I did, because I got started. I started on it earlier in the week, and that's about as far as I've gotten. And then life. All right, so I have a funny story for you guys, and then I'm done. I want to say it's been 5 or 6 years ago now, when we were living in Philadelphia. I was sitting on the couch, we were watching TV, and I had taken my wedding rings off, the band and the engagement ring, and I set them on the side table next to the couch. I don't remember what I was doing. I was probably knitting, or I was doing something that caused me to like flail. Or maybe I was even just adjusting myself and I had a blanket. Whatever happened, the rings kind of flung off the table. I found the wedding band pretty quickly. I couldn't find the engagement ring. So it was, I want to say it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. We did not have good lighting in that living room at all. There wasn't a light in the ceiling. I had a floor lamp, but it was off in the other corner. So I was like, it can't go anywhere. We don't have pets, so it's not like somebody's gonna eat it. So I said, I'll look for it in the morning when I can like open the blinds and let the light in and whatever. So the next morning I woke up and I went and I started searching for it. It was nowhere. There was no like floor vents. It couldn't have fallen in a vent. I didn't have anything on the floor that it could like fall in. Like my floor was clean. There was no place it could be. I can't even tell you how confusing it was, because I tore the couch apart. Like I took all the cushions off. I dug in the nooks and crannies. I did everything possible. I was talking to a friend of mine at work that week, and she said that her son had a metal detector. So she loaned that to me. I used that. It didn't help. I probably looked for that thing every 6 months since I lost it. Well, a few months after I lost it, my husband and I went and we bought a new set. So I want to say it was like 5 years ago, because I'm pretty sure it was around our 10th anniversary, because I had wanted a second band for the other side anyway. So we bought a new wedding set. So we got the engagement ring with the band, and I just wore those on the other side of my original band. And that's what I've been wearing for the last 5 years, if not longer. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I'd say, you'll see that there's like a big piece of furniture missing here that's usually here. We've had this sofa and love seat set since not long after we got married. We just had our 15th wedding anniversary. So we've probably had it 12, 13 years maybe. Anyway, the corner leg on the love seat just went kaput a couple weeks ago. So the love seat's kind of been at an angle. We haven't been using it. The homeowners association here at this condo is a pain in my arse. To get workers in this building is like, you've got to get an act of Congress passed, because if they don't have the right insurance, then they won't even let them on the property. So we haven't been able to find anybody who could haul the sofa away because they didn't have the right insurance. So finally, yesterday, my husband decided he had the day off. He decided he was going to try and fix the leg. So he took the leg off and he made it worse. It was just, he said it was flat out broken. There was nothing he could do. So he decided, because we were going to have to take this love seat ourselves, and we're on the 3rd floor. We were going to have to take it through the elevator all the way across the parking lot to the dumpster and throw it out. So he's like, well, now that I'm down here, like taking the leg off, I might as well take the whole thing apart. So he took the back off, he took the arms off, he just like tore it apart. So then last night we were waiting until like there wasn't any like foot traffic so we could just like take it away. Last night he is loading the pieces of the broken love seat into a wagon, and he hears plunk. If we didn't have wood floors, I don't know that this would have been discovered. He assumed it was a bolt or a nut or something falling out of the couch. He looked down. It was my frickin' wedding band or engagement ring that I lost 5 years ago. I'm still like in shock over it. I still can't believe that we found it. I still can't. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. So have my engagement ring back, and I couldn't be happier because the replacement one that we got was not exactly the same, and I've always like I wasn't disappointed in it, but I wasn't as happy with it as I was with my original, if that makes sense. Anyway, so that's that. That's it. That's all that's going on. So I will be in touch with you guys soon because I'm going to give you an update on my Sew Recreate the Look. Once I get my Ankara fabric, I'll give you an update on that challenge. And yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you guys so much for joining me. If you want to participate in the comments, I love it. I'd love to hear if you have anything to say about my tie-dyeing or my fabric for my inspiration look or anything else that I've mentioned. I'd love to hear from you. And wherever you are, I hope that the weather is gorgeous for you. It's actually quite lovely here in Miami. And I hope that you're able to get some sewing in. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.